Hello, you're very welcome to this talk on digital ethics. In this talk, we're going to look at the development of a couple of case studies about cyber harassment. So my name is Damien Gordon, and I'm presenting this on behalf of Demno Sullivan, myself, Michael Collins, and Emma Murphy, and we're from the Technological University of Dublin in Ireland. So we're involved in a project called Ethics for EU, with partners in Italy, Switzerland, Sweden, and France. And the goal of the project is to identify gaps in computer science lecturers' knowledge of ethics and digital ethics as well, to develop a common understanding of what ethics means, particularly digital ethics, to develop a repository of open and accessible teaching and assessment content, to help computer science students learn about digital ethics, and to produce a series of documents and structural guides to help the lecturers deliver this content, and ultimately to build a community of practice around digital ethics. So the content is primarily being delivered for the computer science lecturers, and definitely that's the focus. But we want to create some pre-made content for them that they can deliver to computer science students from first year to taught MSc level. One of the pillars that we're basing this on from a pedagogical perspective is Daniel Lorillard's Conversational Framework. So Lorillard says when a teacher is teaching students, not only are they delivering content verbally, they may be augmenting that with visual imagery, but they have a set of concepts in their mind, and they also have a set of life experiences and preconceived notions. Each of the students has different life experience and different preconceived notions. Therefore, even if the communication is accurate, what the lecturer says may not necessarily be taken up by the student precisely the same way, just because of a different life experience, and they may interpret terminology slightly differently. So the goal of the Ethics for EU project really is to scaffold or support the lecturer in the delivery of content around digital ethics. We would note that lecturers in computer science in particular would typically be teaching from a positivistic perspective. That is to say, they're teaching facts, known facts, or particular sets of skills that have a tendency to be either right or wrong. Whereas with ethics, there's no real right or wrong to it. We're not trying to tell the students this is right and this is wrong. What we're asking them to is to develop an awareness of these ethical issues and make decisions for themselves. So we would see that much more interpretivistic, even constructivistic like Mannheim, or advocacy style like Jürgen Habermas. But we are certainly asking the lecturers to change their style of teaching, almost we could say from behavioristic to constructivistic. So that's a bit of a challenge, and therefore we felt it was very important to create an instructor guide to help them on that journey. In terms of the teaching content we're going to produce, we're looking at a range of different types of teaching content, including videos, podcasts, games, case studies, presentations, and searching activities like web quests. We've conceived of these lessons as being bricks, and we want to think of them as being easy to join together and take apart, easy to change in as many different ways as possible. Case studies in particular we think are effective because they reach out to people, and indeed they focus on people very often. We know from knowledge management that when an organization changes a technology or introduces a new technology, 70% of the problems based on that change are to do with people, 20% are to do with processes, and 10% are to do with technology. So to go around that loop again, a change of technology means most of the issues, 70% will be because people aren't happy about it, because people will feel put out. 20% will be to do with organizational processes that may need to be changed as a result of the change in technology, but it's only 10% really that will be technological problems particularly. So people are always the biggest issue. So then, particularly for issues like ethics, we should focus on people-based case studies. So in terms of developing our case studies, we followed Robert Ying's model, which is essentially 3-stage design, develop, implement. And the 2 case studies we've created, the first one is a deliberate harassment situation where one individual, a male in this case, is harassing a female and using a range of online tools, social media, and emails. So we've designed this in the form of a series of emails and epistolary to make it accessible and engaging to the students. And indeed, many students have commented, it's like just reading a series of emails and seeing something terrible happen. The second case study is looking at how an accidental cyber harassment, how a small technical issue causes lots of problems for a family. And we presented that in the style of a newspaper article. We felt a newspaper article would be a fun way of doing it, but also it's such a serious issue that we tried to create a layer between the student and the actual issue by making it in the form of a newspaper article. To help the students think about these case studies, we've created a generic checklist, a series of questions that they should think about every time they read a case study, think about what the issues are within the case study, think about if there's an organization involved, if there are people involved, what's the impact on them, and indeed if there's technology involved, what is the technology playing a role in? And all of those issues will obviously be always there for these case studies. These are generic skills we'd like the students to develop when they analyze any case study. And then for each case study, of course, we've created a series of specific questions that we'd like the students to think about. So for example, for the first case study, we ask questions like, should the police have the power to intervene in cyber harassment situations? Should they be able to take away devices? Should the government pass laws about sentencing for cyber harassment? Should social media companies ban particular people or particular IP addresses? Should people who cyber harass be banned from particular kinds of jobs? And in general, what sanctions should we put on them? And these are not questions that we believe there are simple answers to. These are questions we think it's important for students to reflect on, and particularly if they're computer science students, if they're going to be building the next generation of social media tools, we want them to be aware that these things happen, and we want to stop them happening at a technology level as well as at a legal or social level. We piloted these pair of case studies with a class of 38 students, and the feedback was extremely positive. The students enjoyed it a great deal. They particularly noted that because it was a fictitious setting as opposed to a case study based on real people, although the case studies have their roots in actual events that have happened to people, nonetheless, we changed up people's names and changed up the scenarios sufficiently that the students felt that they were more comfortable assessing the motivations behind why people were doing particular things. And they felt it was easy to add more details on themselves. In some of the case studies, we've used pre-existing fictional place names and fictional people, and the students have said that was fun as well because they're going to follow up on those references. The case studies in particular, and almost all students said, opened their eyes to a range of problems that occur with technology that they had never thought of before. So in terms of the key goal of the project, we're very happy that the case studies we developed as part of the research has really hit home in terms of its efficacy on students. So stay tuned for more with Ethics for EU. If you want to see what we're doing, www.ethics4eu.eu, and you can follow us on Twitter at ethics4eu. Thanks very much. Looking forward to seeing you at the live talk.